Okay, I just want to put these corrections that I marked for you on the board for Boitumelu. Where does it start? Yeah. Okay. So it's number 3B, number 3C, number 3F, 5A, 5B, and 5C, and then also number 8A and number 8B. If there are any one of you also want to go and have a look at it, you can just press pause on the video if you want to take a look at the sums a little bit longer. Okay, so we're starting with revision of solve for x. The first sum I wanted to write down is 3 minus 3x equal to 5. Right, I'm going to start here in the middle row. Pamelu, can you please tell me, what do you think we have to take over first? Can you all see that x is not alone? Ne? And there are two terms there. So what are we going to take over first? Because remember, we want to get x alone to find the value. This 3. And what will it turn into underneath the rainbow? Negative 3. Do you all agree with that? And what is 5 minus 3, Pamelu? 2. Okay, so I'm left with negative 3x equal to 2. Now, when the Afrikaans class were here, they were very upset and confused with the next answer. Okay, can you see what the next answer will be? What would you do if you didn't see that side? What would you do next? Divide by negative 3. Okay? Now the secret to mathematics is to always do what you're supposed to do, even if the situation looks different. Okay? So what we would do is we would divide with 3 on both sides. Now the thing that seems confusing is that you end up getting a fraction as a number. But tell me, grade 8, can you eat half of a chocolate? Can you eat a third of a chocolate? Can you eat 2/3 of a chocolate? So fractions, they exist. Huh? So why does it seem weird to get a fraction as an answer? Okay, so just stick to the rules. What you're supposed to do is divide with negative 3, then you divide with negative 3. But please, don't use your calculator to divide 2 with negative 3, because you're not supposed to use a calculator with these sums, and getting negative 0,6666 is a calculator answer, and you will lose a mark. Okay. Next one. You can write that down. So you will see with these ones we've got a few that's a little bit more challenging. Ayanda, what are we going to take over first? The 2. And what will it turn into if it goes underneath the rainbow? Just a minus 2. Okay. So I'm left with negative x over 3 equal to negative 1 minus 2. What is negative 1 minus 2? Negative 3. Okay, so this is what I'm left with now. Now these were the type of sums that we had in the first solve for x sums. You remember we had 3 different types. We had one where there's one next to it. Then we had one where it's at the bottom of it. And then we had the one where the x is the variable. Do you remember those? Okay. Now we said if the number is next to it, it's multiplying. Then we do the inverse calculation, which is divide. If it's being divided, we have to do the inverse calculation, which will be what? Multiply or times. Okay, so is it going to be enough if I just multiply with 3? Am I going to get rid of everything and x will be alone? What do I have to multiply with? Negative 3. Okay, so I'm going to say I just wrote it like this so that you can all see. I had the x over negative 3 and I'm multiplying with negative 3 so that the negatives cancel out and the 3's cancel out. And now I have to do the same on the other side. What's a negative times a negative? 3 times 3? 9. And there you have your answer. Okay, next up is C. Okay, why does this sum look, or what looks different in this sum than the sums that we've had? The fraction. Do you agree with that? Okay. Do the rest of the things bother us? No. Okay, so let's start with that. Remember, we still just want to get x alone. Alright. So Bonang, what will happen to negative 4 if it goes underneath the rainbow? Positive 4. And what is 8 plus 4? Okay, everyone happy with that? Okay, now I want those of you considering going on with mathematics to listen especially well. If this sum was, let's say it looked like this, 2x equal to 12, what would you have done to get the x alone? Divide by 2, right, on both sides. Okay. Now, this thing and this thing is exactly the same. The only difference is here 2 is multiplying with x. And here 2 over 3 is multiplying with x. Okay? So if you were supposed to divide by 2 here to get x alone, don't you think we should just divide by 2 over 3 to get rid of it there? There's a 2 over 3 next to x. If there's a 2 over 3 underneath the x, it's most going to cancel. Do you agree with that? So although it looked very difficult, I didn't do anything new. I did exactly what I would have done if it was a 2. And that's what you need to understand about mathematics. You need to do the same thing, even if it looks different. You divide with it on both sides. So what I actually have is 12 divided by 2 over 3. Now who can remember fractions? How do we divide with a fraction? What happens? Now Lydia, can you remember? Ah, you've been doing fractions since grade 4 most. How do you divide a fraction? I can start with 12 over 1. That's good. And then what happens with the divide? Almost 12 over 1 times. What must also happen when you change the divide to times? You swap the second fraction. Does that sound familiar? Yes. Yes, you multiply with the reciprocal. When you divide a fraction, you multiply with the reciprocal. That means you multiply with the second fraction, swapped around. So that's actually, although it's fractions that you've been doing since grade 4, the only thing that happens here that's a little bit different. But it's not new work. It's fractions. We worked with fractions, but now it's everything in one sum. So for me to solve that, very good, Bokang. I put the 12 over 1, division changed to multiplication, and the second fraction swaps around. Do you guys remember the cross simplification? Yes, I see which number can go into that one. It's 2 and it goes into that one. It's 6. And then I say numerator times numerator and denominator times denominator. And therefore my answer will be x equal to 18. You can write down D and you can do it yourself. This one doesn't have a trick. You see that? Quickly. Just going to fetch a letter in the office. You finish it. Recording.
Zooming out of PC. Get these ones. Don't add up to this. You see now.
I didn't write that.
It's me.
Okay, I'll check for you. Both of them.
One.
Check for you. Let me just finish my task. Come to me after school. Okay. Are you done with this one? X is on the right side. Numbers on the left side. Then it's much easier. Then X turns out to be 8. Okay, you can write down that next one. Gonna help you now. Okay, I'm just going to show you the first step. Alright, so we've got the distributive law here. The 2 has to multiply in with x. And the distributive law says this 2 also has to multiply in with -1. Do you agree with that? So it will be 2x minus 1. Right. Okay, write that part so long. Okay, did you make it? And then I want you to do the distributive law in the second bracket as well. Why are you shaking your head? It's distributive law. We've been doing this for 4 months now. She says -x plus 2. What did you say? Plus? What is it now? -2 plus 2? -2. Okay, listen to me. You don't have to give me an answer. Are there some of you that agree with -x and -2? And some of you that would agree with -x plus 2? Because that's what we saw in the Afrikaans class. Tokozani, what do you want to say?
X plus 2. No. X plus 2.
-x plus 2. Okay? Let's see. When we did this, the distributive law, I said to you, you can multiply in a sign and a number and a variable. Okay. If you multiply in a negative, all of the signs inside are going to have to change. If you multiply in a number, all of the numbers are going to have to change. And if you multiply in a variable, all of the variables are going to have to change. Right. So, Kedidimetse, the reason you are saying negative 2, you are saying a negative times the positive there is a negative, am I right? So you multiplied it with the first term. And then unlike Tokozani, you remembered to multiply the negative with the plus as well. And that is the catch in the sum. Okay, so I'm doing this especially so that you don't forget this, because they will put these ones in the exams. So I want the negative multiplied in with both terms. Now before I show you the answer, what's happening with that minus 3 there? Does it have to be multiplied in or something? Why not, Naleria? And because it says minus, it says subtract 3 from that bracket. Do you all see that? Do you understand? Right, now when the Afrikaans class and I did it together, they were a little bit confused about this zero hanging on the other side. What we did with all of the other sums, we got our x's on one side and we got our numbers on the other side. So I'm going to keep my x's here because 2x is bigger than minus x, and then they are fine together. But I'm going to take the minus 3 to the right hand side. Now lady, wake up out of your dream world. What is going to happen with minus 3 if it goes underneath the rainbow? Plus 3. Now what's 0 plus 3? 3. So that 0 goes away. What's going to happen with minus 2? Plus 2. And what's going to happen with this minus 2? Plus 2. So I've got 2x minus x equal to 3 plus 2 plus 2. What is 2x minus x, Kedidimetse? And 3 plus 2 plus 2? My answer will be 7. Okay, now before we can do the next one, you need to tell me first. What is x times x? And x plus x. Which one? Put up your hands and you tell me. Who wants to tell me? Yes? Can you? For which one? The top one or the bottom one? Okay, when I say x times x, it's x squared. Do we all agree with that? Okay. And if I have x plus x, what's that going to be? 2x. Do you all know this? This is important. Okay, now we can do F together. Do you see how funny this sum looks? Because the other ones we had a number being multiplied in with the distributive law, and now we're having a variable multiplied in. And now I said if there's a sign being multiplied in, the sign will change. If there's a number being multiplied in, the number will change. And if there's a variable being multiplied in, the variable will change. Okay. You can do it. What is x times x? X to the power of 2. I hope there are some of you feeling nauseous when you see x to the power of 2 there. Okay. What is x times negative 1? Negative 1x or just negative x. I'm going to show you now. Let's just talk about it first. What is x times x on this side? X to the power of 2. And x times 3? And what must that plus 2 do? Must it multiply in? No, because it's being added, no. And then it looks like that. So I had many kids in the Afrikaans class that said x times x is 2x. But you know that's not true, no? X times x is x squared. This sum doesn't look nice now. Because we know we must get the x's on one side and the numbers on the other side. But I also hope that you guys realize that you cannot add a x to a x squared. No. They have to have the same variable and the same exponent. So you don't know actually what to do now. Do you agree with me? You have not really worked with x squareds. But let's just do what we would have done if those things weren't there. If those things weren't there, we would get all of the x's on the same side and all of the numbers on the other side. Okay. So I'm going to start. I'm going to take all of my x's to the right hand side because that 3 is positive there and it's the biggest one. Alright, so if I take this x squared over, what's going to happen to it? Negative x squared. And this negative x, what's going to happen to it? Plus x. And this plus 2, what's going to happen to it to the left hand side? Negative 2. And then it looks like that. Okay, now all of you were stressed out about this x squared. Let's work on this side. This one and this one are like. Do you remember we did this at the algebraic expressions? We just didn't have the other side. But this is what we were supposed to do. So the secret is we just keep doing the same thing. And those two are like. Now think before you answer. You are going to answer, but before you answer in your heads. What is x squared minus x squared? Nothing. It's not x all of a sudden. When we add and subtract, the numbers in front. And 1 minus 1 is 0. And if you have 0 x squareds, you've got nothing. So even though that thing was bothering us, it sorted itself out. It got rid of itself without us having to do anything we've never done before. We just did what we've done up to now, even though the sum looked different. The other two I can add, 3x plus x is 4x. And then how do I get rid of the 4? Divide by 4 both sides, and negative 2 divided by 4 will be negative a half. Last one. No, second last one. This one you can do by yourself. Do this one by yourself. I'm trying to print this page for you, but I'm not coming through to the printer, so I'm just quickly going to print it. I will make copies. I've got one here. Finish it so I can see. Alright, let's mark it. 2 times 2x is 4x, 2 times 3 is 6. 3 times 2 is 6, 3 times negative x is negative 3x. Minus 14, eh? That minus 14 doesn't multiply in. Then we get all our x's on one side and all our numbers on the other side. Then we've got 7x equal to negative 14. Divide by 7 both sides and our answer is negative 2. Okay, now the last one that I'm going to do with you. And then you're going to do the same number for homework that has got similar questions like this. So you won't be struggling with them as much because I'm doing this page with you. What looks different in this one? Fractions, né? At the distributive law. Okay. Calvin, we are with you. Calvin, tell me what is 1 times x? And 2 times x? Okay, so all that happened is the coefficient and the variable just stuck to each other, né? So what is a half times x? A half x, né? Just like 1 times x, just like 2 times x, just like 3 times x, a half times x will be a half x, right? We will have the numbers there now. Well, let's write it. I haven't done it yet. A half x. Okay. Joshua, I would appreciate it if you can stop talking. A half times 4. So I can change the word for you. A half of 4. It's 2. Okay? A quarter times 2. Or I can change it. 2 times a quarter. 2 quarters. A half. Is that what you said? Yes, if you take 2 quarters, you must have a half. Does someone have a scissor for it to borrow? Well, oh, she has one. Go on. And a quarter of 8. A quarter of 8. It's 2. And that 4 doesn't multiply in there. It's being subtracted. Minus 4. Okay, this thing still looks a little bit funny, ne? Because of that half x and half x. Although you guys have seen the coefficient that's a fraction. It's not that scary. But tell me quickly, what is a half plus a half? 1. So can you see if I take this half x and I add half a x, I've got the x. And then all I need to do is take the normal numbers to the other side. Ne? So I'm going to start with negative 4. It becomes plus 4. Minus 2. Plus 2 becomes minus 2. Minus 2 becomes plus 2. And there your answer is x equal to 4. So grade 8, these type of sums are a bit more challenging than the ones we've had in our textbooks. But I'm doing these sums with you for a reason. So that you can see that even if it looks more difficult, even if there are ugly khogas in the sum, you can do it. Because you've got the skills to do an easy sum. And if you've got the skills to do an easy sum, you just apply those skills at the more difficult sum. Because the steps stay exactly the same. Okay. So we've now done number 1, this first column, A to H. You are going to do this second column for me for homework. Now, as you can see, that first one's trick is the fraction coefficient. We had it at number 1. You know how to do it. That one is plain straightforward. Plain straightforward, plain straightforward, plain straightforward. That's just 2 distributive laws. 2 distributive laws, no problem there. Nothing funny there. And then at I, it's one that's funny again. It's the X that's going to multiply with the X that you can take a look at. And then J, also just relax with it. It's fraction in, fraction in, fraction in, and fraction in. Okay, Joshua, I will excuse you out of my class forever if you continue to talk while we are busy working. You don't stop talking. You've got comments all of the time there for Nikita. All of us can hear it all of the time. It's extremely irritating. Okay. And we've gotten your idea that you don't want to do well. You're not doing your work. We accept it. The rest of us, we do want to do well. Okay. So please respect us. Deel my uit. Okay. Isabella's going to bring you a page.